Well, as you know, we've identified a number of locations off the southeast coast of Ireland initially, where wind will be captured and electricity will be brought ashore. Now, there will be very significant enabling works to do that. Upgrade of the grid onshore in the first instance, but a lot of other engineering works that have to be done by EirGrid. And what they're gone to the marketplace today is to look for companies that are prepared to engage in providing those those enabling works. Some of them will be big international companies, but there will be opportunities for smaller indigenous Irish companies. And I suppose that's what EirGrid want to try to do, as is what the government does, is that as we're bringing this electricity ashore, that communities in and around those locations benefit significantly from it.
So these are onshore works at present?
This will be offshore works as well, because the grid will have to go out to the points where the electricity is generated by the by the various different distribution companies and the generation companies that are going to win those contracts. In the case of the one off the southeast coast, Ørsted and the ESB have won that contract. They'll be generating the electricity through the wind turbines, and then it will be EirGrid's job to connect to the grid back at shore. A very significant amount of work involved in that, and there's some really good opportunities, as you said, in the tens of millions of euros of contracts that will employ many people. Hopefully, plenty of Irish companies will be able to participate in it, and that's just the first of many. There will be a number of other auctions off the south coast, and as we often talk about in Clare, the DMAP is being developed around the rest of Ireland's coastline, and we hope to see opportunities emerging over the next number of years off the west coast of Clare. And again, opportunities like this will exist in this area when that happens.
So when it comes to companies here, developers in Clare benefiting from this procurement process, will we have to wait for the DMAP before that happens?
No, not at all. And in fact, I'd be encouraging any companies that have the potential to provide any of the services in the southeast to bid for this work. Details will be available on the EirGrid's website, because companies travel all over the country to carry out contracts of this scale and size, and hopefully companies from Clare and the Midwest will be able to participate, and will set them up good for when the next wave of the development takes place off the west coast of Ireland and off the west coast of Clare in particular.
Yeah, but obviously at the moment these projects are limited to the southeast.
Well, the project that's first up that went to auction in December is off the southeast coast of Ireland. There will be a number of other sites identified along there which will be auctioned in the coming months. But by the end of 2027, a national DMAP will have been completed, which will identify all the suitable sites for development off our coastline. And we expect that there will be sites off the west coast that can be accessed from the Clare-Limerick region. And electricity will ultimately be brought ashore through Moneypoint in due course. But the opportunities that are there off the southeast coast are there for companies all over Ireland, and further afield, international companies will participate in this too. But as I said, the smaller contracts that some Irish companies have skill sets in will be able to win this business, and it will be a further boost for local economies. In addition to obviously bringing clean energy ashore, which of course is really important at a time when we have become or are overly dependent on fossil fuels, and we know the issues that has caused in terms of the potential for scarcity of supply or increased costs as a result of the sort of tensions in the Middle East and in Russia. So we do need to get to a point where we're more in control of our own energy mix, more in control of the generation of our electricity from renewable resources within our own grasp.
Mm-hmm. And it is hard to have this conversation without thinking about the current energy crisis. Will embracing offshore wind make us more energy dependent?
It's very clear that we have become completely overly dependent on fossil fuels, on oil and gas, and we have very, very little of that kind of energy within our control. It mainly comes from Russia, the Middle East, and the US. However, we have an abundance of wind and of solar, and we can capture that off our shoreline, bring it ashore, and power our economy into the future. We can also use electricity to generate hydrogen and ammonia, which has the potential for storage, but also for powering uh, larger vehicles and larger engine-related activity in the industrial zones into the future. There's also the byproduct of ammonia, which is also an important feature in terms of economic independence. So it does require continued government support and effort to wean ourselves off oil and gas and move towards that renewable resource of solar, as I said, and wind energy.
Will it make us less vulnerable to price shocks?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the long-term gain here. For quite some time, the discussion around renewable resources of energy was about climate change and reducing CO2 emissions. And whilst that's still really important, a more critical component of that right now would be energy independence and not being reliant on the importation of fossil fuels from, as I said, regions where there's significant volatility. And we don't have to be, if we work towards developing this electricity from renewable resources, we're no longer dependent on those locations, and therefore we have much better security of supply, but also much more affordable in the long run.